This episode is brought to you by the Sasquatch Flag Company. The Sasquatch Flag Company is a family-owned business in New England that builds hand-carved American flags from seasoned white pine. Each flag is hand-built and each star on the flag is hand-hammered and chiseled. No two flags are alike. They offer a variety of flag designs to honor the police, military, firefighters, dispatchers, and search and rescue personnel, to name a few. These stunning handmade flags look great in an office, a studio, the back porch, or above the fireplace mantle. They make the perfect gift for the veteran, first responder, or patriot in your life. Now, I love these flags, and I've been giving them as gifts for years, and I was a customer long before they became a sponsor of the show. I can't recommend them enough. So if you're looking for that perfect, uniquely American-made gift to give away, or if you want to treat yourself, go to SasquatchFlags.com and get your order in today. Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by Brian Jodice. Brian is the creator of the Pick Up the Six podcast and founder of Pick Up the Six LLC. He's a former TV broadcaster with a passion for reaching people through storytelling. He is a husband, father, and proud son of a retired Air Force Lieutenant General who taught him the importance of one simple message: service before self. Brian believes that everyone's story should be heard, and we share them best when we connect people to something bigger than themselves. Now, I'm excited to have him on the show to learn from his experiences. So, Brian, welcome to the program.
Man, John, it is awesome to be with you. We flipped the script tonight, right? You were on my show a few weeks ago, number 135. So folks want to go back and listen to me ask you a bunch of questions, they can. And now I'm in the hot seat. So looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The roles are reversed. It was great being on your podcast. I love your show. And it's great that you're able to join us today to talk about, your life and your story with our listeners. So it's fun to do this. So I like being a guest because there's less preparation to do. So today you didn't have to prepare anything. So that's good.
I've been poring over notes of my entire life all day to get ready for this, John. I take this serious, man.
Well, you're ready to go then.
Yeah, we're ready.
All right. Sounds good. Well, so I want to start off. I mean, as I introduced you, you said your dad was an Air Force general. What was it like growing up as a military kid with a father who was a fighter pilot that, was a general? That's a big deal. So what was that like? Yeah. And, what were some of the lessons that he taught you? And what are the things you learned being that military brat growing up in that environment?
I mean, it's pretty great, right? Like your dad flies fighter, like
right, exactly.
Pretty bad.
Dad's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, pretty cool guy. Listen, man, just very blessed and fortunate. I'm the oldest of three. My dad is one of two boys, and we as a family just knew about service, right? And just something that we all kind of were a part of. He joined the Air Force right out of college, was commissioned into the Air Force. Went through his path, was able to get a pilot's slot, trained up, went to the Air Force, flew F-111s, later flew F-15s for the bulk of his career. F-15s in the desert some, then a squadron commander, was an ops group commander. I mean, he's commanded at a lot of different levels and ultimately retired in 2013 after 36 and a half years as a 3-star lieutenant general. And, we like to jokingly refer to him as Eagle One, and did pretty good for himself, right? But he was a guy that grew up in New Jersey, whose dad was in the Navy in World War II, who went back into Korea. And so, that path for him, I think was pretty evident. And it was great, man. We got to travel around quite a bit. But we also got to spend 6 years when I was a kid, 4th grade through 9th grade, not too far from where you and I physically sit today in Goldsboro, North Carolina, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, right? And so we kind of grew up there and got to, man, just fall in love with jet noise and be around fighter pilots and grow up in squadron bars and all that good stuff, man. So it was an absolute blast and a privilege, really.
What a cool experience for, I look at that, I think travel and being exposed to, one of the things about military bases in general, though, is you get people from all over the country, all over the world. And so I think you get to see a bigger world when you're younger, when you're in those kind of roles, like as a military child. And I think that you get exposed to a lot of different things with that. And you see the world as maybe bigger than yourself. Do you think that has had an influence on the way that you have lived your life?
I mean, it's a good point. I'm the oldest of three. My middle brother was born when we were stationed at Upper Hayford Air Force Base in the UK, right? So we even traveled around overseas at an early age. When I was in the 6th grade, Dad did a 1-year remote to Osan Air Force Base in Korea. right? So we got to go hang out over spring break there for a year.
Wow.
One of the things that I have thought about sort of later in life is that ability through that environment to meet people and to have to adapt quickly. And I think try to blend in isn't the right word, but sort of adapt to new environments. And I think it's something that has prepared me later in life to be ready for just different scenarios, right? Or meeting different kinds of people, or being able to communicate from people from New Jersey, and then boom, next minute you're in North Carolina. It's kind of a different, kind of group of folks. There's just different
Yeah. Yeah.
culture stuff.
Absolutely. I think,
So yeah,
yeah.
so I think so. Yeah, I think so.
That's outstanding. So we mentioned in the introduction, service before self, something your father taught you. What did that mean to him? What does that mean to you?
I mean, I think it's just you're committed to something that's bigger than you, right? It's sort of what many folks would say, and if you're faith based, sort of I'm third, right? God first, others second, self third. Service before self for those that quite literally, like you did, sign that piece of paper, right? Give away a ton of your rights at that moment, right? To volunteer to serve in the military, you're putting something above yourself. And so I think service before self is kind of that. It's this idea that, first of all, I'm not the center of the universe, right? The world's better when I remove myself from the center of the universe. It's better for me physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I'm part of something bigger than me. And service before self, it sometimes means sacrifice. Sometimes it means hardship. Sometimes it means not always doing, the things that are easy. And for us, it was being around that. And it was learning by a lot of examples. It's funny. I don't remember necessarily a lot of guys sit down and we're going to talk about these specific things. Those lessons were taught along the way.
Yeah.
But it also was just a lot of learning from seeing,
Yeah.
right? Seeing a man like that dedicated to his nation, right? Dedicated to his God, his family, and his nation. And just wanting to be like that, right? And just wanting to follow in those footsteps in some way, shape, or form. And there's three of us, myself, my middle brother, not down the military route, but we try to do everything we can to support and give back in other ways. Our youngest brother, major in the Space Force, Lieutenant Colonel Select, by the way. Boom, what up?
Nice.
Oh yeah, which is awesome. We just got that news. And so just trying to carry on that legacy a little bit. And I think that starts from watching a guy in our grandfather who lied about his age to join the Navy, right?
Yes.
World War II starts off, goes into a recruiter's office. He was born in 1925, and I think his military ID says 1923 or 24, right? To gain an extra year to sign up for that thing. And that's service before self, like, of course it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, when I was on your show, I think I mentioned both my grandfathers served in World War II, and that's definitely a major influence on me. In fact, in the studio right now, you see a ship right here, and that's the USS Frost, my grandfather's ship, who he served in World War II, and just amazing stories of battles with German U-boats, and what he went through, and knowing the technology that exists back then, and the conditions he faced in winter storms in the North Atlantic on this little destroyer escort. He's just, this guy was a hero of mine. And the influence. Our family really does influence who we become, and I think it sounds like you had a similar experience with your grandfather and your.
Oh my God! I mean, John, like some of the fondest memories of my life are growing up in those squadron bars, and also just hanging out with my grandfather. And my mom's dad served as well too. Was in the Army Air Corps. But we spent a lot of physical time with my dad's father, who was in the Navy, and just sitting around the table, and he would tell us stories. And it wasn't always the gruesome acts of war and all that stuff that those guys had to endure along the way. He was in the Pacific, USS Terry, out there for Iwo Jima and those battles in the Pacific. But even just the little stories of him sharing about, they've got some rest and they're watching a movie on the deck of the ship one night. They're probably in transit and passing a jug of wine around, and he hands it to the next guy, and it's his commander, and he thinks he's in big trouble. And the guy takes a pull and passes it on. So, I'll always remember stuff like that. And because it means a lot, right? And that's hopefully you do, right? That's your legacy, right? That's part of your lineage, and you're proud of that. And man, I mean, I cherish those moments. And I think that shaped a lot of what my dad wanted to do. And then what my brothers and I and our families try to do too. I mean, we don't just put those American flags on the wall back there, right? Without knowing exactly what it means. You don't put the one that's folded up in that case that he flew over the desert without knowing what it means, and being fortunate that he came home, right? When guys that my dad served with didn't.
Yeah.
So that means something to us for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So you were a local sportscaster in Texas and Illinois. And what about that experience? What was that like? And then how did that lead you into what you do today?
Yeah, it was awesome. I graduated from college, went to Appalachian State, which is in Boone, North Carolina,
Mhm.
was a broadcast media guy. As a kid, I wanted to be a sports center anchor. Like I was the kid that at 12 and 13, while most were watching cartoons, I legit was like watching Sports Center and watching games, like
Yeah.
studying those guys. And I loved Keith Jackson and Chris Berman and just all those guys. And so I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. And so I went to college for that and got out of college and had, no job offers to be a sports right? Like I had no experience. I had some radio experience, hosted a sports radio show at App State. Shout out to Dyson J, the sports crazies. We had a blast. But quickly learned, man, you got to be willing to put the work in and figure some stuff
Yeah.
out. So I ended up in Wichita Falls, Texas, got a job at a local TV station as the production assistant for the morning news broadcast. So I was showing up to work at 3 a.m. I was
Mm.
editing a bunch of tapes. I was running cameras in the studio. And I walked into the sports department after my first week and I said, hey, I'm working from 3 a.m. to about 1 p.m. And after that, I'm all yours for free. Can you just help me learn? Can I be an intern? Can I just learn how to be a sports reporter? And Chris Horgan and Aaron B. Jackson took me under their wing and taught me a lot. And then eventually I was able to become the weekend sports anchor there, met my wife there, girlfriend at the time. Right. We moved to Illinois after a couple of years. We were in Illinois for about 5 years where I was the sports director at a TV station. Got to cover a bunch of great events. We covered the Rose Bowl when the University of Illinois played there against USC, got smoked in like 2008, I think, and got to do some neat things and learned a lot about people and relationships and storytelling. And
Mm.
we called a lot of game highlights, right? It's Brian on sports, show you the highlights. And we do that, but we also got to meet people in the community, share their stories.
Mm.
And that was a stuff, especially in local news, that I thought always kind of resonated, right?
Mm.
They can go to ESPN for the big highlights. They came for us to hear the stories about the local teams,
Right.
right? To
Right.
get to know the players on the basketball team or the football team at the University of Illinois. And man, it was a blast. We had a great time with it. My wife and I were ready for a little something different, a little different pace of life and to start a family. So we did that until about 2010 and then, shifted into the media content creation, kind of
Mm.
digital media space after that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting you said something that's really important that you said, you when you got your degree and you realized that, it was hard to find a job, doing what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
and you ended up taking a job and then
Yeah.
you sort of forced your way into a
Yeah.
career.
That's a great way of explaining it. I was like
And
a
I think
fullback,
that
like we're doing this.
yeah, and so I think a lot of people come out of college and they think that, well, it's life's going to be easy, right? I have a dream, I have an aspiration,
Mhm.
I'm just going to do it. It's going to work out fine. But a lot of times you find yourself where you've got to do something extra, you've got to
Yeah.
do something special, and it sounds like you put in the extra work. You like you said, teach me without pay so that I can do my dream job. And I
Yeah.
think that's a great message for people to hear that sometimes we have to do the ugly to get to where we want to go. And sometimes that can be difficult and it can require a lot of perseverance sometimes and frustration. And it seems like they're never going
Yeah.
to end.
Yeah.
But
Not a lot of pay, like a lot of
right,
sacrifice. You got to just
right.
you got to be willing to put yourself out there. And then you also sometimes you just got to know when to go,
Yeah.
like get moving. And like, yeah, it paid off, not in a big way. Right. So when I finally became an actual sports reporter there, the news director's like, hey, great news. We're going to elevate you up and actually, give you a sort of a
Yeah.
real job here. This 2003, 2004-ish. We're going to pay you 17 grand a year. And I was like,
Ooh,
sweet,
hey.
I'll take it. I mean, so like, it wasn't, big glamorous life, but amazing things came out of that, right? Met
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
bride, right? We got
Right.
2 great kids now. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you got to be willing to put yourself out there. And you're right. Like, sometimes you got to I didn't want to be cutting tape and running
Yeah.
cameras for the morning newscast, but it was a path, right? It was a foot in the door. It was an opportunity and you got to seize it and jump on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I speak to high school students a lot, and one of the messages is don't be a nub, and it's an expression from the military, which is a non-useful body. So
Nub.
I tell people don't be a nub, and the idea is that wherever you go, be a contributor, be a
Yeah.
net contributor
Yeah.
to and you're going to find that things will work out for you. Put in the extra hours, be willing to volunteer, be willing to do the extra, and then things will tend to work out for you, in trying to achieve things in life. There are way too many consumers, and what I say is be a creator, be a contributor, not a consumer. And I think I think it's a big part of and it fits in with the service before self. Do things, help others, before you're, enjoying leisure time, if you will. So
I just wrote down nub. I'm taking that with me for sure. That's a great
you
one.
can take that. You can take that. My son is brand new in the Navy and he's a nub right now. So I remind him to get qualified every day.
Sure.
It's really important. Don't be a nub. So
that's good.
But so Pick Up the Six podcast. I've been on it. I love the show. Tell us what the title means so people understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. We started in February of 2021. So, and God's been good to us. We've had a great run here and nearing 150 episodes in those 2 years. We moved to the Cary area in North Carolina in 2016. And in a few months after that, I joined a men's leadership organization. It paints itself as a workout group, but really it's a men's leadership organization called F3. The 3 F's are fitness, fellowship, and faith. It's changed my life. And throughout that organization, when we're in the middle of working out, if a guy's lagging behind or somebody's behind, we always talk about go pick up the six. And obviously being around my dad, right? I mean, I've got distinct memories of him talking about flying sorties, right? And who's got my six, right? And so, like, as in sort of military parlance, the six is behind you, right? Who's got your back? Same thing in that workout group, right? If we're going to pick up the six, we're going back, right? To get the guy or gal that's sort of lagging behind. And so I originally started with a very small podcast. It was 6 minutes. I was interviewing just local guys that I knew that were part of this workout group because I thought they were good guys and I just wanted to hear their stories. And we do it very fast after the workout. It's 8:04 in the morning. I'm here with so-and-so. These very quick interviews. And was doing that for a while. And I thought, man, I'd really like to take this skill set as a broadcaster, which, I'm not professionally doing it anymore, but knock the dust off of that. Right. And put something around that. And I started looking around thinking about, what, we've kind of built something with this pick up the six idea. I'd like to expand it. And there's a couple reasons why, and a couple things that sort of spurred me to do it. One, I use my dad as a great example. 36 and a half years in the United States Air Force, Lieutenant General, amazing career. Had you not served with him, people don't know who he is.
Right.
It's just right. But that guy did tons of stuff on behalf of our nation that some of you might not ever even know about.
Yeah.
Right. That he was a part of. And I thought, you know what? There's a lot of people out there that have gone above and beyond through service, purpose, and impacts, or these 3 pillars we want to talk about. Let's share their stories. And then another thing happened was I was watching Lone Survivor one night, right? This movie about Marcus Luttrell, Operation Red Wings, which by the way is my birthday. So just always felt the connection. These 4 Navy SEALs, right? They get embedded in the Afghan Hindu Kush, right? Get compromised. 3 of them are killed in action. 1 survives. And the United States of America and some of our allies move heaven and earth to go get that 1 asset. And it's a Friday night. The family's asleep. I got a bourbon. I'm like, we're putting on Lone Survivor. Let's get after it. And watching the movie. And we get to the scene near the end, and probably not a spoiler alert. Hopefully, I don't.
I know
it's okay. Spoiler alert, right? Yeah. Spoiler if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
right. Where a Pavehawk helicopter picks Marcus up, right? This bigger than life Navy SEAL. And in the movie, the Pavehawk helicopter sort of looks over his shoulder, gives a little nod, and then they take off and they rescue Marcus from this Afghan village. Which, by the way, we had that guy on our show, Jeff Spanky Peterson, because I was like, well, wait a minute, who's that guy? Who's the helicopter? Marcus Luttrell, if you're in sort of the military community, if you've seen that movie, like people know that name, but I'm like, who's the dude that flew the bird that saved the dude, right? That guy's picking up the 6. And God led me to Jeff Spanky Peterson, Lieutenant Colonel Peterson, who flew that Pavehawk, who's part of an Air Force Reserve crew, John, that was 6 guys, right? They got gunships above, they got all this stuff, but it's this Air Force Reserve crew with Spanky, right? He's got his co-pilot. His FE, his flight engineer, this is 2005, was in freaking Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Like, his PJs are like fresh out of med school. So this crew, you're like, this is wild, right? But they're trained up, they're ready for the fight, and they go get this guy. And I was like, those are the stories we're going to tell, right? And here's our 2nd episode. And it's stuff like that, right? That's why we did. So that's what Picking Up the 6 is about. And it can be military members, right? We've talked to first responders. We've talked to entrepreneurs, leaders, nonprofit leaders, right? Anybody really that we find that fits the mold of service before self, strength of purpose, right? What were you designed to do, or community impact? And we've just been having a blast with it, man. We had a great time talking to you about not only
Yeah.
your military service, but right, and how you're sharing that with leaders and entrepreneurs, because you continue to serve even though the uniforms come off. I think that's important too.
Yeah, it's a great thing that you bring up, because I think I talk to a lot of veterans, and we have a mission when we're in, and when we get out, we really struggle. I know I struggled for about 7 years to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, because I achieved my lifetime dream at 24
Your identity
years old.
is so connected to that.
Yeah.
I get
And
it.
so
Man.
what do you do? And so many military veterans need a mission after the service. And I think that's a big thing that's missing. And they struggle to find it. And then, but usually, and in most cases, it's something where they can be doing something bigger than themselves, because that's what they did in the service. They're looking for that same way to contribute to the world, like they did in the military,
Dude, take Evan and the guys from Black Rifle Coffee, for example. Right? They've not created a coffee company. They've created like a movement. Take it, Jason McCarthy, right? Special Forces, Green Beret. He owns Go Ruck. Jason, awesome dude, right? I think they make the best sort of rucking backpacks around. I've got multiple Go Rucks. Shout out, love those guys. Not paid sponsors.
Should be.
That guy hasn't created a backpack company. He's created a movement, right? An outdoor fitness movement.
Yeah.
So you're right. And it's just, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. I think our hope is to share some of those stories, right? Because man, you've done so much on behalf of the nation. You got such great skill sets. And when you see those guys and gals flourish afterwards, it's amazing. So we love talking to folks that have done cool stuff like that too. And man, it's inspiring, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. And I've had a lot of them on my show as well. And I learned so much from hearing their stories and seeing what their mission is after the service. I see a lot of great stories of people really trying to, again, they're putting service over self even after their mission is done. They're trying to find their mission in the civilian world, if you will, helping others typically. So it's a good point.
And it could be, look, man, it could also just be examples of, like, we interview a guy named Dean Ogan. He lives in Raleigh. He's a local guy around here. He's from Tennessee originally, I think. And Dean owns a catering company. And when COVID hit, there were a bunch of families who were now stuck at home with their kids, who they relied on the meals from those schools, right? Like, not everybody is as fortunate as you and I and so many other people, where, okay, our kids are quarantined. We're home for, I don't know, a year. We'll just get groceries, right? That's a beautiful gift. There's thousands of families across our state that wasn't the case. That dude stepped into the breach, right? Got something going. They took their catering company, Rocky Top Catering, and they created basically a nonprofit arm that started making food pickup for families. Your kids quarantined, right? Nobody's in school right now. Rely on that meal. Sometimes it's the 1 square meal those kids get a day. Show up here and we got you covered. Like, dude, that's pretty incredible selflessness. That guy put a lot of capital on the line to make that happen.
Absolutely.
But just doing the right thing in a moment. So my hope is, like, and I try to just do this, and I hope that our listeners do too, is just keep your eyes open for those moments, because you never know when they're going to come up, and it might be just something little.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it's great to hear the kind of guests that you have on the show. And I do encourage listeners to look it up, pick up the 6 podcast, great show. I love what you're doing. And I really appreciate you featuring these stories, because I think it's really important to highlight the people that are actually stepping into, like you said, stepping in the fray and being willing to do big things. And that's fantastic to hear. So I want to talk to you about F3.
Sure.
It's a men's leadership organization. You mentioned it's fitness fellowship and faith. Tell us about it. Is it nationwide? Is there local? What is it? What do you guys do? And what's the mission?
Well, it's another thing I love to talk about. We tell these guys, come join us for these free outdoor men's boot camp workouts, so you can get a good workout. And again, like you said, really is a leadership organization. I'll tell you, the mission statement of the organization is to plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men. And here's the kicker: for the invigoration of male community leadership. And what happened was, there were some guys in Charlotte about 2011 that were doing this Saturday morning workout. Just it sort of organically started up. And they're like, how about on Saturday mornings, group of just guys get together, just dudes being dudes, and let's get a good workout in. Because contrary to sort of sometimes what they might want us to think, that sort of men are lone wolves and we kind of go by the beat of our own drum. Like that. Can I use expletives on your show?
Absolutely.
That's bullshit, right? We're not lone wolves. Men are pack animals that are best together, and we thrive together. So these guys started up sort of this workout, and two of the guys saw, I think, an idea of, I'm going to take this thing a little bit bigger. So they split off and they eventually started what we eventually called F3. And the idea is pretty simple. You get men together in your community nationwide. We've got sort of what you'd consider chapters, right? We call them regions all over the country. We even have some international, Germany, South Korea. We've got a few in Africa, right? So it's really spread a lot over the last, 12 years at this point. And the idea was simply just get these guys up and get them active and in community, right? And they can be bonded together by doing this 45-minute workout. And in doing that, men start getting in better shape, right? They're doing something hard first thing in the morning, which I'm a pretty big advocate for. Like, just let's get up, get after it. And if you work out in the afternoon, man, that's great too. I'm happy that you're active. For me, I got 2 little kids. I got a family. I got a lot happening. I got to do it at dark, or else it's really just not going to happen, right? So get these guys going in fitness. And then what they realized was, well, now they want to hang out more. Now they want to get coffee. Now they want to develop real depth in relationship. And with that comes that living third component, which is the faith piece. And the faith piece in F3 is not a religious, affiliation or anything. It's just, it really is a belief that there is something bigger than you out there. For me, as a Catholic Christian, right? Okay, my faith is then manifested in all those other things, but I know that there's something bigger than me and I'm not the center of the universe. We kind of started with that, right?
Yeah.
Right. And if you do that, then other things happen. So now men start giving back. They start doing community service projects together. We just had a local F3 region that was partnering with a group in Raleigh this weekend. And those guys were going into a man who's visually impaired, ripped all his carpet out and put flooring in. Right. So now guys are doing stuff like that. And so it's incredible. F3nation.com, if you don't mind me saying, is the website.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
There's a map on there. You put your address in and it shows you all the workout locations that are right around where you live. And we're not everywhere, but we are constantly expanding. And I think we've got I don't know, over 4,000 daily workouts or something. I think it's on the website too. I mean, and I live in Cary and Apex. We've got a Carpex region, Cary, Apex, right? We got South Cary, we got Apex, we got West Cary. You got stuff headed towards Nightdale, Gardner. We got stuff everywhere.
How about Wake Forest?
You got Wake Forest for sure. Yeah, the Wake Forest guys are going strong. Most of those workouts are somewhere between 5:15 and 5:45 a.m. and they usually last about 45 minutes. There's run groups, there's rut groups, but the core of it is sort of a 45-minute totally free workout. And that's the best part, right? It's open to all men, right? So we want all guys to come out. It's 100% free. There's no cost to attend. There's no membership fee. There's no dues. You're probably going to buy a few F3 shirts, so just consider that. But there's no pressure to do that. It's always outside, rain or shine, which I think is key. And I love going to the gym and lifting weights, but I also know that getting outside and getting dirty and getting rained on, it's just, we need it. As men, we need that. That's in our DNA. And it's peer led in a rotating fashion. So not only do we expect you to consume, my brother, but we expect you to create and lead, right? And maybe some of these guys never get a chance to lead. I don't know. So they get a chance to lead. And then I think the secret sauce of what we do is every workout ends in what we call a circle of trust. And it's a chance for guys to maybe put the shields down for a second, open up, be vulnerable, talk about things that are going on with their life and build that depth in relationship. And that for me has been what the real game changer is, because as a man, when you can get in a pack like that and be reminded that guys are going through similar things and lean on guys that have been through stuff, ideally, we hope that we're strengthening those men up, because ultimately that leads to just stronger communities, right? And we've got an epidemic going around our country right now where men are getting isolated. The enemy gets implanted in their brain and they're doing the one unthinkable thing that we can't undo, right? Which is take their own lives. Far too many men. It is an epidemic across our country, and we got to stop it. And I think part of what F3 is doing by getting these men in real relationship, getting them, man, invigorated and feeling good, ideally we can bring some of those things to an end. And so, dude, it's been, you can just probably tell by the passion in my voice how much it's meant to me. I try to tell
Yeah.
everybody about it. I'll drive to Wake Forest to work out with you up there. Anytime you say the word and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think
And you
one
get
of
a
the
goofy
things,
nickname too. So you're a military guy, right?
yeah, yeah.
Get a call sign. We give every guy a goofy nickname most of the time at his first workout too. So there's always some fun with that happens as well.
Okay. Usually we get called bubblehead or something like that, being submariners. So
There's always a couple things, and you got to be careful about what you tell the guys about yourself, because obviously they'll use it against you. So
right. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's really important what you say there, because I think especially with I see with social media, especially what we saw during the pandemic, is that there is a lot of isolation. People
yeah,
have
yeah,
isolated themselves. They might feel like they're trying to connect with social media and things like that, but 10 people tend to be lonely.
yeah,
And we are
for sure.
social creatures, and
Yeah,
we need to be together with other people. We need to interact. We need to have people hold us accountable. We need people to say it's okay, or hey, I'm going through that same thing as well. Because like you said, there's way too many people taking their lives. There's way too many people that feel like there's no hope.
yeah,
And when you're around other men like this, I'm speaking from a male perspective, but when you're bonding with other men, what you realize is that you are not alone, that
that's right.
everyone is going through the
That's right.
same sort of
Yep,
struggles that you are, and having that accountability group, having
yep,
someone you could talk to, is really essential for us as humans.
yep,
That's what we need to be to thrive.
yeah.
And I think that's, from what it sounds like, the F3 is providing that
Mm,
to these men, and it sounds like a fantastic
yep.
program. And
You nailed
I'm,
it. And we use an acronym, OYO, right? So sometimes if you're leading the workout, I'll tell everybody, all right, we're going to run over there and you guys are going to do, 20 push-ups, OYO, on your own. Just do 20
oh
push-ups.
yeah, okay.
Sometimes we're counting cadence or whatever, right? But sometimes I'll just say 20 push-ups, OYO, run over there. We also have one no OYO, right? You're not on your own, right? And
Mm,
that's sort of the key to all this. Shout out to our lady friends too that are listening, right? FIA, females in action, female counterpart to F3. So if you
oh,
got
nice.
females that are
Okay.
listening, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
out
yeah,
there too. Not as many sort of regions and chapters, but a ton of them out there. And so love what the gals are doing there too, because it gives them a chance to do
yeah,
something
yeah,
similar. Look, man, I think there are plenty of opportunities for guys and gals to sort of mix. And Orange Theory does that, and
yeah,
even Go Ruck experiences do that. I think there is a time and a place where men just need to be in community with other men,
yeah. No,
because you can just
I
you can just
agree.
talk about things at a different level, and
Yeah,
the vulnerability just comes down. So which is awesome.
yeah, fantastic. Well, this has been really great. What kind of final message would you like to leave with our audience today?
Man, well, listen, I love what you're doing. And for us to be able to come together and just, man, talk about great stuff. I mean, it really has been an honor and a privilege, and I think back to, what could you have done in life and all that. And I just know that God's got a path and a journey for us. And I hope that the stories that we're sharing are part of that. I think they are. And I feel very charged that they are. And so I'm just thrilled for the folks that have come along the journey with us. Right. And I'm grateful for the folks that we've been able to talk to and get to know.
Mm,
And it's just such a blessing, man, because we've been doing this for a couple of years. Like, I've just got to meet some really incredible people, and that's developing even into new friendships and relationships. Last
yeah.
week, I was in Aiken County, South Carolina, with my buddy Lowell Coppert, former Green Beret, with a Marine veteran, a couple SEALs down there, just great guys, and a bunch of gals too. And a dude that we know wanted to work out for 22 hours for veterans' mental health, suicide prevention, and he worked out for 22 straight hours. He was on the stair climber or a bike or taking some bathroom breaks.
Wow.
Legit, bro, 22 hours. I mean, no joke. And so I got to be a part of that. And so just it kind of goes back to that point before, like, lean in, be willing to do stuff, get going, keep your eyes open, and just man, take advantage of the opportunities and just do it with a full heart, and check yourself out of the middle of the universe every now and then too. And it helps
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And I think when you say service before self, you're putting yourself out there, and it's not all about you, right? And then
Yeah.
you get to work on something that's bigger than you, and then
Yeah.
get out of your own bubble. I think that's
Yeah.
really important for people to do.
Yeah. And there's so many folks, I'll tell you this, maybe my sort of parting thoughts. We're living in a pretty tough time, John, where you watch the regular media and it's a shit show. I mean, it's just a disaster.
It is.
Everywhere you look, it's a disaster. Everybody hates everybody. We're all terrible, right? Like, good God. But here's the best part. It's not really like that.
It's not at
Right?
all like that.
On the fringes, it is. And
Yeah.
for, for like major media and for clicks and all that, I guess it is. But it's not like, it's the people you talk to.
Yeah.
Right. It's Commander Kirk Lippold, who commanded the USS Cole the day it was attacked by Al Qaeda in 2000. And the way he tells the story of his sailors saving their ship. It's the folks that we've talked to over the last 144 episodes as of this week that remind you that even with all those differences, even with difference of religion, race, sex, origin, political parties, the real American spirit is still alive and well. And it is folks that are dedicated to their community, right? It's folks that are willing to look outside themselves. Like, that's happening. You guys see it. You see it every day, right? Yep. And it doesn't get reported on the news. So I think it's our duty, me and you, right? You guys listening, folks come listen to our show, to continue to remind people just how good we are, right? Just what brings us together. And we can unite behind service, purpose, and impact on our show. That's what we'll try to do.
Nah, that's fantastic. Well, how can people find out more about you, the podcast, and what you do?
Yep. We're at pickupthe6.com. You go there. You can see our shows are the first thing they're on the website, right? You can go back through all the archives, and we've got show pages where you can learn a little bit more about the guests, see pictures of them. We're on Spotify, Apple, iTunes. We should be on most places where you can listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube, right? So really just go look for Pick Up the Six. But we're right there, pickupthe6.com. It's got all the links to all that other stuff. Same thing on Instagram. We're pretty active there at Pick Up the Six. I'm at Brian Jodice. So you can also follow what I'm up to, see the things I like to eat, check out my kids playing soccer, all that good stuff too. And we greatly appreciate it. Anything you can do to help spread the message that we're doing, just like folks do with your show, it really does help us a lot. And when John at the end of the show, or maybe before it, or whenever he records and says, like and share and subscribe.
Yeah.
Guys, it helps in a big way.
It makes a difference.
If you haven't subscribed to this podcast that you're listening to, do it first, and then head over to ours and hit that subscribe button too. And we won't inundate you with a bunch of nonsense. We'll share good stories with you.
Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. We'll put links in the show notes for all those resources, and we'll even include the f3nation.com, because I think that's for
Hook
those
them up,
that
man.
heard that story and are interested in doing that. That's a great resource as well. We'll put the link in the show notes for that. Brian, this has been fantastic. I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your journey, sharing what you've learned over the years, and what you're doing to pay back. And I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate what you're doing on your podcast. So thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your journey.
It's my pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. Love what you're doing. I'm a fan for life. God bless you.
Good. Thank you very much. I love what you're doing too as well. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Rennie saying take care and lead well.